This is Bet to the Future. I am Stephen Murray. This is your March Madness special edition here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. Live just after 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be perhaps the show with the most experienced March Madness wagerer ever hosting this evening, and that would be myself. Welcome. I love this music. How's it going? I am Stephen Murray. This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network. We'll go ahead and kill the binary code. But I think you get the point. This is Bet to the Future. Our look in our podcast focusing on future wagers, future bets. One of the most inexpensive and long-term satisfaction, if you just like that feeling of having some action type of bets, is the future bet. And we specialize in that, of course. And when it comes to March Madness, I mean, what other better venue to get involved with the futures, especially if you're like me, who's probably declared at one time or another. Well, I think the NFL is definitely my favorite sport at this point. Once all the new conferences got together, the portal opened, I think I kind of lost my flavor for college basketball a little bit. But I will say that at one point in time, college basketball probably was my favorite sport. I probably knew everything about it. When I was in elementary school and sixth grade, I was playing basketball with the other kids, and we'd either be NC State or Virginia or Wake Forest or Georgia Tech or North Carolina or Duke or Maryland when they were in the ACC, those original 8 teams before Florida State came in. So we've been following the ACC tournament and March Madness for quite some time. In fact, my success is pretty decent. Now, I really haven't done this, or at least put it on record, or at least thought to myself. But at one point in my gambling and wagering career, I would say from the beginning of the 2000s until about 2010, I would pick either the preseason basketball champion for the NCAA, and I would pick the football champion. Now, I've lost 3 times out of both of them combined in about 20 guesses. So 17 out of 20 I picked on the preseason. Yeah, I know you probably find that hard to believe, but I did have teams like Louisville before they won it. I had U Conn. That year they beat Butler. I had Maryland when Maryland won their basketball championship. I had Duke several times. I had North Carolina when they went ahead and did it. So in the football side of things, it was between LSU and Alabama. I feel like that was a little bit easier back and forth. College basketball a little bit harder. But college basketball has always been somewhat of a bread and butter. And where I haven't been too much invested with it at all, especially during football season, I've gone ahead and still played the brackets. I've still participated in whatever pools I can, and of course, wagers. And now that the sports book has this menu of, you can bet Sweet 16 teams to get to the final 8. You can parlay them all together. That makes things a lot more interesting. We did cash out a nice 5-team round robin last spring where we took U Conn to win it all as the favorite beforehand. And we parlayed that with Man City to win the EPL, the Boston Celtics to win the NBA championship. And then for the hockey, the Eastern and the Western Conference champions, which were the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. 5-0 on that ticket, investment of about $20. And I think at the end of the day, we cashed out about $9,000. So we look to try to do that sort of thing again this tournament. But there's other fish to fry in the meantime, as far as just futures alone in this NCAA tournament. So we'll take a look at all kinds of nice, interesting angles, things that you haven't heard of for sure on the sports radio if you've been listening so far this week, trying to get an edge on things. I think we can bring a few things to light here that we could try to take advantage of. Now, predominantly, I'm one of those who likes to look to the under in college basketball. I will play overs for sure, but my first instinct is to look at an under. But I'm going to spread the portfolio around a little bit more for this tournament, as some of the research that I've done, especially with a lot of these underdogs, not necessarily do we need these teams to win, but there are circumstances where you're getting great payouts on a lot of these underdogs just to get 65 points, 66 points. I think the highest I'm asking from anybody is 69.5 points. So to get to 70. There are teams like SIU, Edwardsville, right? So in order for them to get a nice payout of plus 250 or more, they just need to get to like 55 points. If you go back and look at their scoring, and I get it, yes, they're playing Houston. Yes, that's a tough opponent. But if you look at these tournaments in seasons past, and I know a lot of people are kind of thinking this is going to be a chalky tournament from the people that I've been listening to, I'm not so sure about that. These teams, and with the portal, the proof is in the pudding the last few years that a lot of these perceived lesser teams can be competitive. And where they're competitive, they're actually putting up a lot of points. So as long as you're putting up points, it doesn't matter if you win or not. I think we have some pretty good angles to look at in those regards. And we'll go over a lot of those as we go through the show as well. So we'll look at some unders. We're going to look at some overs on some bad teams. I got another philosophy on another really, really crazy bet. And some of these tickets, as I rotate them around, and I'll go over this first one in a bit. Know that these are basically, well, if you see like, 4 things on the ticket, and this ticket on the screen is not a good example. Let me just kind of throw this one up here. Okay, there's 5 things on this ticket, and I really wanted to get to this later. But know that with these 5 things, I'll play this ticket and maybe even play it twice, and then I'll add to it. Like, these are mainly the Thursday games, and then there's one game on Friday at the bottom. But the 4 games on the Thursday are played by themselves. So we're not having to wait the next day, all nervous. At least we know it's cash in the bank. Mainly the thing is we focus on the first 4. Anything after that is a bonus. And that's kind of what you're seeing here. And that's as far as like the games go actually themselves. Now, to get to the Sweet 16, this is kind of an interesting thing for me as well. I'm actually looking at teams who can make a run to the Sweet 16 at getting good, decent numbers. And the first thing to talk about is maybe even the obvious one is with North Carolina as we start tonight. And I will have the Ant-Man joining me. In fact, let me go ahead and text him that I'm ready when he is. That way we get him involved with some of this too, and we don't have to go ahead and repeat it. But San Diego State, yes, is a tough team. And I think a lot of people that I've actually listened to today like San Diego State. And I believe this is the Ant-Man calling in. Anthony, welcome back.
Happy Tuesday.
This is Bet to the Future with Stephen Murray and the Ant-Man from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios. Ant-Man Mobley, somewhere around the Chicks Beach area as we speak. And I'm talking about the futures, Anthony, right now. And I'm starting just right off the top with North Carolina. Tough game with San Diego State. I'm looking for big paying teams that can get to the Sweet 16, and I'm going to parlay them together. So let's just kind of start in that regard, and then we'll get into some specifics on some games themselves. But teams I got that are capable to reach the Sweet 16, and I'm actually kind of regretting maybe one or two of these as I'm looking at them now. This was kind of a first instinct play, and I went ahead just because they're getting crapped on so bad right now, North Carolina. I think they can still use that blue blood ACC pedigree that they have and beat someone like San Diego State. And not only that, I think they actually can be a threat to, at the end of the day, win that region, because I think that region's winnable by a lot of teams, not necessarily the chalk at the top. So what are your thoughts on North Carolina first and foremost?
That's why I haven't filled any brackets yet. I want to wait. I want to wait for this game to occur because, I mean, a lot of folks don't think NC should have even been in this because I don't know the guy's name. He wasn't either athletic director at some point. Now he's on the committee.
Right.
And now there's a big conspiracy of why they got in, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, when you fill out your brackets, so if you're filling it out on CBS, ESPN, whatever, you know, whoever they play as a 6 seed, who is it? It's a 6 seed. Who is it? Is it Ole Miss?
Yeah. The Ole Miss would be next in line. Yep.
Yeah. So when if you were to fill out your bracket tonight, before this game started, you don't have to pick NC, North Carolina, or San Diego State. You can just pick the 11 seed. But watching North Carolina, because I mean, minus one lane violation against Duke, they're in the ACC championship, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you have all that going. So I can't wait to see North Carolina win, or hopefully they win. Watch them play, and if they do win, I mean, they're going to be one of my Sweet 16 games. I was trying to come up with a couple stats. The one I do have is let's see what it is. 11 out of the last 13 Final Fours since 2011, they featured at 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11 seed. And the only times it's never happened was 2012 and 2019. And you saw what NC State did last year. Remember that?
Yep.
The 11 seed, a play-in game. Still can't believe they fired their coach, but they made it to the Final Four. So, and obviously there's 3 other 11 seeds out there that could do it, but it doesn't feel like it's always the 11 seed that does it. Why can't it be North Carolina? I mean, remember when Kentucky was an 8 seed? I don't know. I forget who the team was, but who was on it, but they were an 8 seed. They squeaked in. Then they went to the national championship. So why not North Carolina? Now they obviously have to get past the Aztecs, so we'll see what happens.
Now, so like when I look at the teams around them as well, say they survive round 1, and then yes, they do beat Oklahoma, and they get into the round, Ole Miss, and they get into the round of 32. Then you're looking at Iowa State or Lipscomb, and I got some things to say on teams like Lipscomb coming up, but you just have to ask yourself at the end of the day, is this a winnable game for North Carolina? And I think the answer is yes, emphatically, right? So you can have them marching forward in that respect. And then if you look at the bottom half of the bracket, you name everybody else. Michigan State, Bryant, New Mexico, Marquette. Would it be beyond shocking to you that they beat someone like Michigan State if that's the best team they face down the road? Not at all.
All they have to do is beat Izzo. If they even, I mean, assuming that they take care of Marquette or New Mexico, and of course Bryant. But yeah, if Michigan State's the only thing in North Carolina's way, there's your automatic fire right into the Elite Eight and the Final Four. Never mind, and assuming that Auburn takes care of their business, you're looking at an Auburn, North Carolina Final Four or Elite Eight. Boom. Gotta shut the door. You still hear me?
Yeah. No, I got you loud and clear. I'm just plugging in some numbers. My bad over here.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
The
The game starts at The game starts at 9:10. So if you are, obviously if you're going to be making this bet for just the Sweet 16, and then you want to throw 3-4 other teams in there. If you do want to take North Carolina, get them in there, you better do it before 9:10. And what channel are they on? Oh boy, a tradition like no other. The one time where all of America tunes into True TV, the one station that's only used for 3 weeks of the year. True TV. What channel is that on DirecTV, by the way?
It's right next to the TBS. It's right next to TNT. They're all right in a row, so you can flip back and forth.
Like what else is on True TV? Like, do they play sitcoms? Do they play like cop dramas? Are there random movies from the 90s?
Yeah.
Like, what else is on True TV other than college basketball in March?
I think you just named everything, basically.
Okay, fair enough. And that random animation from the 70s. Got it. All right, move on.
Right. Okay, so let's see here. With North Carolina in the futures board, and did they take it off because of the game coming on right now? That's what they did, didn't they?
Oh, I'm so sorry that St. Francis and Alabama State is putting a huge burden on our betting.
Yeah, they closed all the future boards. All right, so let's look at this. North Carolina, because I have them on a ticket. Now I just need to scroll to that. And actually, I have that on screen. So to get to the Sweet 16 right now, actually, they don't only have the odds on that. I believe they were like plus 840, something like that. Okay. Now, if they win tonight, they're going to be much less than that. Correct. So if you want North Carolina for a Sweet 16, you have to buy them tonight. You can't wait to see if they survive San Diego State because your odds are going to be much, much less than that overall. So that's my theory on them. I went ahead and matched them up with Clemson, but Clemson kind of was a little disturbing to me at the end of the season. As much as I know that they have a lot of players who returned, their coach is very good. They let teams like Boston College, who aren't good at scoring, still score 70, 75, 80 points in that final game of the season. A team like McNeese, who's been there last year, and this is going to be an example of everything that I was kind of going to group together now with some of these perceived lesser teams, I'll call them, teams like McNeese. So if you just go ahead and you look at McNeese in terms of scoring, and let me flip back to their schedule here. And Clemson plays 3 o'clock on True TV, 3:15 on True TV. If you go back and look at McNeese's schedule and their recent form, and I say do this with all these teams, Anthony, all these teams, like, oh, Lipscomb, they're going to get killed. Go back and look at some of their scores. Now, the most recent game for McNeese State is a championship type of game. Yes, hard opponent, 63-54 win. All right. We'll give them a pass on that because that is the championship final. But before that, they've scored 83. They've scored 95. They've scored 100. All right. They scored 73. They scored 88. They've scored 78. And that's all just recently. So to me, that's a team who's able to put up a lot of points. And when anything kind of goes in this kind of tournament, and this kind of smells like an under in a big way that it kind of does already, I'm going to kind of look at the other way on this and look at least for the over. And where I have Clemson advancing to the Sweet 16 on this ticket that I have on the screen right now, you'll notice that I actually also have on another ticket McNeese over 69.5 points for their team total at plus 220. And there's a few of these. I'm going to run those by you in a second. But let me finish off with the Sweet 16 guys I got going on. I think Kentucky can get there. I think Tennessee can get there, although they're a big minus number to do so. That's all right. And then I think I'm reaching, but the payoff is good if it does happen. So this is just kind of like by chance, hopefully. I got Kansas and Memphis. Memphis is actually paying very well because of their little quadrant is really, really tough. Let's see. Memphis is involved with, for Memphis to get to the Sweet 16, they're going to have to go through Colorado State, who's good. They're going to have to go through Maryland, who's good. And they're actually going to have to go through Grand Cayman. If Grand Cayman gets by Maryland, which that can happen from everything that I've looked at. So Memphis is kind of a long shot, but they do have that pedigree to them. So I'm going to kind of stick with that just on this ticket, because at the end of the day, with Memphis, Kansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Clemson, and North Carolina, you have to ask yourself, can these teams make the Sweet 16? And the answer is yes at the end of the day. And I'm willing to put down $15 to win $4,571 for a payout for that to happen. So go ahead and give me your thoughts on any of those teams I had as the Sweet 16, why you would shy away from them, why maybe that's actually a good call. What are your thoughts on that ticket I have going there?
Well, I look at it and I see we've already spoke about NC, so we don't have to talk any more about that. Clemson, who do they play? They play McNeese. McNeese is pretty much, I feel like they've been in a tournament every year the past couple of years. I think they got routed by Gonzaga last year, but they're a good team. We've seen what Clemson is capable of, but obviously you look at the seeding and most of the public, when you're filling out your brackets, all right, there's a 5-12. Let's pick a 12, because there's always that 5-12 upset. Is it going to be McNeese? Because it's just, that's like I said, you don't even have to look up stats. You just look at the number and you see 5-12. Well, all the fives aren't going to win. Maybe the fives aren't that good. We saw what Clemson was capable of during the year. I mean, it sucks that they bad luck during the ACC tournament, but the thing is they get. Let's put it this way. Steve, have you ever made a bracket where you barely did any research and you just picked the 12 seed team and the 13 seed team to win? Then you had the 13 seed team in the Sweet 16. You didn't even know what you're doing. And then at the end of the day, you see 5 and 4 and you're just pissed at yourself.
Yeah. Well, to some extent, I kind of ask myself at the end of the day, can this perceived lower team win? But yeah, I've certainly have done the automatic. I probably need to have a 13 and I probably need to have a 12 involved in there. And I've definitely done the 12. The 12's kind of been a staple mark against the 5. The 13 is not one I've experimented with really. But yes, that does win. And usually I feel like I'm on the wrong end of things on that one.
And it always happens. It's like, and I'm not talking about folks who are actually digging into these numbers. I'm talking about your general public user who either fills out his bracket 30 seconds after it's dealt or a minute before, everything starts. The reason I bring Clemson up is why it's an interesting Sweet 16 is because all they got to do is beat McNeese, which is very possible, of course. They're both 27-6. And then they have to beat Purdue if they even can get past High Point. So I believe this is their first tournament ever. So Clemson's passed to the Sweet 16, 100%. Tennessee, so they're the number 2, right?
Yep.
They're the number 2. They're playing in the Midwest. They're playing number 15 Wofford. By the way, speaking of Wofford, I can't. Do you know if they play Thursday or Friday?
Wofford plays, I believe they
When's
play.
the Wofford-Tennessee game?
That's on Thursday, I believe, because I have them involved with my initial action.
The only reason I asked, and I'm
yes.
fingers. I'm
Thursday at 6:50. Thursday at 6:50.
Okay, perfect. So whether I get approval to be off on Thursday or Friday or not, it doesn't matter. We'll still be able to watch it. There's a dude on Wofford. I think he's either their center or power forward. His name's Kyle Bill Switch.
Yep.
The dude literally shoots free throws granny style. I will tune into that game just to watch him at the foul line. That's literally what I'm looking forward to with Wofford. But if Tennessee beats them, then they have to just get past UCLA and Utah State. UCLA, we remember their run as an 11 seed a couple years ago. I think they were playing game 2. I don't know much about them. Let's just hope that Tennessee can, get everything through there. Clemson, Tennessee, Kentucky. Oh God, Kentucky. I know nothing. I know nothing about the college they're playing. Troy. The only thing I know about the College of Troy is I just assume that I'm assuming that their nickname's the Trojans, and they somehow come from, the Trojan War or something like that. I know nothing about them.
Well, they come from South Carolina. I do know that. So,
but it's funny. After all the addresses I was looking up, making my stupid map on Sunday, you would have thought that I would have this memorized by now, but I don't. But if I look at Kentucky, so they are playing Troy, and then they're going to get the winner of Illinois and either Texas or Xavier. We'll find that out tomorrow. Kentucky's got a shot as well. Obviously, the last one, that's the tricky one, Memphis, right?
Yep.
Memphis is the 5 seed. I believe they won the American tournament. That Sunday?
Yep.
Okay. Well, guess what? Congrats. You're playing probably one of the hottest teams right now in college.
They have their hands full.
They got their hands full. They get past Colorado State. And then they'll take the winner of my Maryland Terrapins against, of course, Arizona's Grand Canyon. I think there's a path. I know that, I was looking at some of the numbers, some of the most bet teams tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. Colorado State's actually the overwhelming. If you look at the line now, is Colorado State the favorite to win the game outright?
I saw that. Yeah, the higher seed is the underdog in Memphis, which they did very well in their conference. They won a lot of games. They played up to competition. So I'm not sure where that comes from. You're getting a nice over 4-1 odds, close to 5-1 if they do make the Sweet 16.
What, Colorado State or Memphis?
Memphis.
That's why I like it. And look, this is madness, right? Nobody ever, no matter what you look up, no matter what stats you look up, no one was ever going to predict Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue. No one ever was going to predict UCMB or whatever they're called beating Virginia. And didn't Yale beat Auburn? Didn't Kentucky lose to St. Francis? Remember the high-flying squad at Florida Atlantic? Remember all those dunkers? I think they were like a 9 or something like that.
Yep.
Just at this point, go with your gut. And even if you don't like it, do it anyway, because guess what? You don't know what's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be any one upsets. I don't think there might be I'm intrigued on that Robert Morris, by the way. But
oh yeah, I got something to say about that here in a minute.
The thing is could we be wrong? Could Robert Morris get their asses kicked by 30 tomorrow or Thursday or Friday?
Well,
of course they can.
I guess I'll go ahead, Anthony, because I have some real live evidence of how this is kind of a weird game. So go ahead.
No, I can't wait to hear the stats because I'm just using goofy logic because everyone does. Remember us watching bracketology and watching all Jay Williams is, I got all the ones and all the twos. Great, cool. And then you have another guy, you know what, I think Texas Tech will be there, the ones. And guess what? No. Look, when the Sweet 16 is set, yes, this is kind of where you go chop because all the really good teams start to be like, okay, let's grind. We just went through all the stinkies. Now it's time to grind. And you're going to still have that 11 seed, 10 seed, 9 seed, whatever that does seep through the cracks. You might have one or two, but at the end of the day, it's all the ones and twos. But guess what? I don't know this. I don't have the stat in front of me. But when was the last time you had all number ones? So like 13 years ago?
Yeah.
And that was even an outlier in itself because they were all blue bloods too. It was like Kansas, Kentucky, NC, and I don't know, someone else. But anyway, there's going to be an upset. It's going to completely sweep you off your feet. I mean, did you actually look up the stat line, or did you actually look up the odds for a perfect bracket?
I know it's astronomical, but I do have all my lines back. They all popped right back on.
I did. Mine hit too. Yeah. And I'll let you talk after this. 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance at a perfect bracket. That's not a million, a billion, a trillion, or a quadrillion. That's the next step. Anyway.
Are you watching? Are you watching the game now? Whatever game's on.
Nah, I'm not watching the 2/16s play.
Is that what it is?
How
okay.
was that?
All right. Yes, I have no opinion on that whatsoever. All right, Memphis is plus 520. Kansas is plus 250. Let's see, Clemson's right at even money. But the moral of the story is this, and North Carolina is plus 630, so not quite 8-1. But it doesn't take much. Like, just to add on, just for an example, just these three, North Carolina, let's take Memphis, and then, let's take like UC San Diego, because they're kind of actually a favorite to get to the Sweet 16. They're plus 360. That's actually less than both these other teams, North Carolina and Memphis. All right. And, let's just throw Kansas back on there too. I got to hunt them down here. Yeah, let's just throw Clemson. A nice plus 128. Now you're just simple $5, people. Just for these four teams to get to the Sweet 16. Memphis, North Carolina, UC San Diego, and Clemson. $5 pays $1,123.45. So that's good, right? I mean, you can have a lot of fun with that kind of thing. Let's get to what Anthony's kind of talking about with teams like Robert Morris as well, because I did some investigating, Anthony, and I'm going to go down a list here of some of these teams, and then I'm going to tell you what I have. We mentioned the McNeese numbers. Let me mention some other teams as well. So let me flip back to my master schedule here. And when I look at games like Creighton and Louisville, yeah, that's a good game. That's a fun one. That's not really one I want to get involved with. If I do, it's just kind of sounds like an under game to me, where I think we can definitely have some higher scoring games. It's going to be with some of these lesser teams who are going to be able to produce the points that we're not thinking that they can produce. The tougher games are going to be teams like Louisville and Creighton who have contrasting styles. Creighton, I kind of liken to Clemson a little bit in a ways. And Louisville played them to a complete under game. So we'll get to unders in a minute. I'll probably group that on an under ticket. In fact, I already have. But let me go through, and we talked about Purdue. And they're going to play High Point. And to me, this just sounds like a higher scoring game if High Point can produce. So here's what High Point has done here through the season. And this is them scoring. In their most recent game against Winthrop, they scored 81. Radford, they scored 76. Gardner and Webb, they scored 85. South Carolina Upstate, 88. Gardner and Webb, 90. Charleston Southern, 83. Winthrop, 88. They scored 83 against Longwood. They scored 104 against UNC Asheville. They scored 78 against Radford. 84 against Presbyterian. I'll stop when I get to when they've scored less than 75 here. 86 against South Carolina Upstate. 77 against Presbyterian. They lost against Longwood and scored 80. Before that, Gardner Webb 96. Charleston Southern 93. You get the point? I could go all the way back now 7 more games. They've scored in the high 70s, 80s, or 90s. And you have to go all the way back to when they played Appalachian State, which was, let me see if I can get a date on this game. December the 14th, when they scored 65 points. Okay, that's fair. So let's look at the game with High Point and Purdue. And I'm going to go to the games. And I see St. Francis 39, Alabama State 34 at halftime. All right, so let's go to Purdue. That's going to be a Friday game, correct? I believe that's on Friday. I'm getting to know the gist of when these games are starting to be played. Am I wrong? This is a Thursday game? Yes, Thursday, 12:40. So I'm completely wrong. It's the second game. Yes, High Point. The line's 7.5. Okay. Purdue 7.5. I get it. They're the 6th seed. And it's 153.5. That tells you it's a higher total game. That tells you it's going to be a higher scoring game. But let's not look for the weight to be carried by Purdue here. What do we need modestly from High Point? Seeing since they can score 1,000,000 points to get us home here on a bet. High Point at, let's see. Well, you still are going to need a lot. 70 points is minus 196. Man, they're almost telling you High Point can win this game. 75.5 points is plus 136. 78.5 points is plus 215. So if they're telling me that, and I'm going to compare this to Robert Morris in Alabama, Anthony, because this is kind of ringing home to what I was thinking. If I'm going to ask them to get, almost 80 points to get almost 3-1, why not just take them on the money line at that point? Because if they're going to score that many points, they're probably going to win, I would say. And they're getting plus 270 on a money line and maybe even an alternate line at that with High Point. It is kind of fishy that is that low of a spread, considering you need 80 points, every bit of 80 points to get 270, plus 270 payout anyway. And a minus 1.5, you actually get 3-1 on High Point. So give me a High Point in a scenario like that. And I'm going to keep going down the list of these teams here, Anthony, because the next game is Montana and Wisconsin.
Well,
go ahead and give me your thoughts on High Point real quick. Yeah.
Well, we watched them beat Winthrop by what? I think 12.
Yep.
Last week at some point. I don't know anything about Purdue. All I know is it's a Purdue team without Edey.
They're a 3-point shoot wide open type of team.
I'm also reading this little article. It's actually very helpful. High Point is one of the best offensive teams, ranking 32nd in offensive efficiency, going against Purdue's defense, which is ranked 173rd. Oh, by the way, if you guys are little number crunchers and you want to actually do a little compare and contrast, I don't know if you guys know who Ken Palm is, but he is pretty much the known commodity when it comes to this. He has every freaking stat known to man. Steve, you do know about Ken Palm rankings, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So everyone, I'm sure ESPN has talked about it, CBS, Yahoo, any podcast you listen to, they use him. But of course, nobody wants to do any of the work. So that's why they listen to us and anyone else on whatever podcast land you're on. But yeah, he has all these numbers. So that's kind of what I'm getting out of all of this. But yeah, and some of my brackets, probably one of my main brackets, I will be taking High Point to pull the upset on Purdue because they just won their championship. I was shocked that Purdue was even in the tournament, let alone a number 4 seed. I didn't watch any of them. I didn't care. But just like you said, 3-point shooters.
It wreaks havoc. I mean, it reeks of taking High Point in that game.
It also makes you wonder if maybe the alternate over is in play as well, because I'm looking at this number at 153.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but both teams get into the 80s, so 160 at minimum. I'll be considering that at some point, but I like the High Point. I mean, if I'm gonna, because I'm obviously be making some upset picks Thursday and Friday. Probably I'll do a bunch of Thursdays and a bunch of Fridays. Maybe we'll popcorn it. We'll see. But if I'm gonna start with my first upset of this tournament, High Point it is.
Right after that game, Anthony, I think we have just about the same sort of opportunity. It's 1:30. It's Wisconsin and it's Montana. And again, Wisconsin is kind of like a Purdue. They want to run it up and down the court. Are they the greatest defensively? I don't think so. Michigan showed that. Michigan showed that they can put up a bunch of points against them. So when you look at Montana, let's go back and look at their points scored. 91 against Northern Colorado. 78 against Idaho. 74 against Northern Arizona. 83 against Eastern Washington. I get it. It's lesser opponents. But they're showing they're not winning lower scoring, grinded out type of games. they're scoring baskets. So if you're playing a wide open team like a Wisconsin and a Purdue, I think you have your opportunities to score. Portland State, they lost and scored 76. Low scoring game against Sacramento State where they scored 60. But before that, 89. They have a 65 mixed in, but 81, 83, 86, 87, 92, 77, 72, all before that. So their recent form is that they are scoring points. Again, this is another 151.5 here. So it's right around the total with Purdue. But you're getting a lot more points here with Montana. You're getting 16.5 points. So that's just one seed away from that should tell you something about High Point as well. The fact that they're an 11 seed and Montana's a 12 seed, they're playing a similar Big Ten opponent. The spread is so much more for Montana than it is for High Point. So that kind of makes you want to take High Point even more. Yes, is Wisconsin probably going to be able to go up and down the court on Montana as well? Yeah. So, like, again, another alternate type of over, like Anthony says in the Purdue game. You can get over 157.5 at plus 168. But let's look at the team props. What do we need out of Montana alone to take home some cash? Because scoring, and if you're going to parlay these all together, you can get over 69.5 at plus 142. Can they get to 70 points? Their recent form tells you that they at least have a pretty good shot. I think I like your type of angle on this, Anthony, where you know Wisconsin's going to score 2. Just figure Montana can get their own. And there's a good shot that we can get to the mid or upper 50s, 150s in this type of game. And then you can talk about both Montana and this next team because this is a 2:00 game as well. We've already talked about McNeese. So this will kind of wrap up the early part of the day on Thursday. But we look at a team like SIU Edwardsville, who's playing Houston. And you're like, okay, yeah, Houston's going to smash them. They're a 28.5 point favorite. The over-under is at 125.5. So what's the alternate total points for a team like SIU Edwardsville? Well, their baseline's 48.5. So that is super, super low.
My worry with let me just say this with Wisconsin. I'm in a Survivor. I think it's the same Survivor that you were in with me last year, where we picked 2 teams each weekend, so Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday. I think Wisconsin's going to be one of my survivors. And I just hope I don't regret it. I hope Montana doesn't pull some out of their ass. But we watched Wisconsin. I thought Wisconsin was going to beat Michigan. The only thing I worry about with the over in Wisconsin and Montana is that Wisconsin slows it down Big Ten style. But Wisconsin was also playing Michigan, and they kind of play the same way. So hopefully Montana can figure it out and make this fee attract me. And obviously the numbers do not lie. As far as what's the college name? SIU Edwardsville. Where the hell are they?
Illinois, right, or Indiana, or something like that.
You know what?
They're Southern Illinois or Southern Indiana.
they're somewhere over there. I will say this after watching and unfortunately losing with multiple bets with Houston is, you know what Houston is? They are the best team against worse teams. They will. I'm surprised 28.5 is the number. They might win by 40. My only concern is Houston is up so big, and their defense is so suffocating that this game really could be 90-45.
So this is the only comparable games I can give you, and I get it. These teams are in Houston, but they lost to Illinois 90-58, and they lost to Indiana 80-61. So they were able to score 58 and 61. Now let me reel off what they've done recently. And I get it. They haven't done super crazy, but again, we're not asking a lot for a positive payout on it when we look at the odds. They've scored 69, before that 71, 73, 68 in a loss, 68 in a loss, 80, 84, 71 in a loss, 75, 66, 69, 63, 65, 82, 82 in a loss, 87, 69, 60. All right, and all the way back to November now, they scored 58 against Lindenwood. So you can kind of call that their low mark. But even before that, they scored 100 points against the team. They scored 80. And I get it. It's Houston, lockdown, shut them down type of defense. But Houston still has been letting and they were pretty suffocating the BYU. But they let Arizona hang around. Arizona's probably not as good as maybe they showed in that Big 12 tournament, at least in my eyes. And when you're looking at a number for SIU, at over 51.5, you're getting plus 158. To get 55 points, you're getting plus 265. You can't tell me they can't at least score 55 points. And I get it. They might just, like you said, it might be Houston 80, SIU 45. But I'll take my chances on a as you call them, a stinky team type of ticket, because just to get to 55 points, if they have 31 and come out and just have a good first half effort or something, you're in it. If they have 20 points, 23 points at halftime, you're still in this type of bet. I get it. They could stink up the joint. But when you're adding all these numbers together on some of these little hangers here, a team like SIU is going to pay really, really good.
No, I agree. I mean, what happens if they fire out of the gate, get a couple threes, make Houston actually play a little bit, and then all it takes is just a couple F-ups. And if you're looking at maybe SIU having, I don't know, let's say 17 points by the 10-minute mark, you're looking at this going, oh my God, why didn't I take them at 60? You know, like they're on that run, and then you obviously feel better about, your 55 when they end up with, like, I don't know, let's say, 29 at halftime, right? So I get it. You just hope that these stinky teams can sift through the cracks against these really good teams. Because I'll tell you this right now, Houston's going to bury them. We all know that. Houston's, like I said, Houston's very good. It's good against good teams. Can a team like this Edwardsville team, can they at least react and not completely crumble?
Let me give you another one. And this would be, let's just go in order. And this would be in the evening session, unless we talked about them a little bit before, but Wofford and Tennessee. Now, if I want to flip back to Wofford here, and I get it, Tennessee has some stingy defense. But all you need is these kids to let their guard down a little bit. Oh, yeah, we're playing a 15 seed. They're 19 and 15. How good can they be? All right, in their recent games, Furman, they have scored 92 against Furman, 85, 72, 75, 90, 68, 82, 68, 74, 77, 79, 74, 67, 61. That's probably their low point of the season. 79 before that. A couple of 80s mixed in before that. 3 out of 4 times. They scored 100 points once as well. So, again, you're getting another team here in Wofford who can actually score. So, when we look at their number against Tennessee, and yes, they are big 18.5 point underdog. The total is just 132.5 here. You know you're going to get a good number with Wofford. And with Wofford, just to get to 63 points, you're getting plus 245. This is a team that showed that they scored a lot already in a lot of their games. To get the 59.5 is plus 146. Again, I think these are numbers that you can just go ahead and plug in on an SIU type of ticket with Watford, with some of these other teams that we've already talked about, and we'll go through some more. So Watford to you, Anthony. Can they get to the 60s?
I think so. I think they can. My only worry is that Tennessee's their defense is static. We obviously haven't seen what Tennessee. It's sting watching the SEC tournament because you see Tennessee playing all these good teams, so it kind of defeats the purpose. But now you have this Wofford team. But look, like I said earlier, it's March Madness. Anything goes. I'm in for all of these. You're gonna say 60. I'm in for it. Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick side note. What is the FanDuel dog of the day bet?
That's that. Just if you take an underdog straight, you get a boost on them straight up.
So I will be taking High Point in this dog of the day bet.
Yeah. So you could boost them.
If your team is the lowest seed to win their game on March 20th, you will receive an equal share of $1 million in bonus bets with everyone else who used their token on that team. So 15 wins their game. And
that's a little different. I didn't read it all. Okay.
So that pretty much means so my dog of the day bet is going to be High Point, right? And I'm going to put $10 on them or probably 20 honestly at plus 270. If High Point is let's say they're the only 13 seed who wins on Thursday and no 14s or 15s or 16s, for love of God, win, then not only will I win my bet, I will be anyone else who picked High Point. It's going to split $1 million, just like the NBA 3-pointer thing. Steve, you explained that to me.
Yeah. I got some news on that too, by the way, because you know how the last few weeks that's been paying out pretty good, like $3,300 and like $3,900. And that what it is the player on Sundays who scores the most threes. If you pick that player, then you and everyone else who picked that player and used that boost properly on that wagering website gets a split of $1 million. And the first 2-week prizes were $3,400 and then I think $4,100, something like that. Anthony Simons won it this week. Guess how much everyone got?
$111.
$111. Yeah, you saw. So the jig is up on that a little bit. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out on that as well. And you got to figure with everyone playing March Madness, everyone's going to pick a dog. So how much are you really going to get maybe at the end of the day? We'll see.
Exactly. And I'm sure there's going to be dum-dums who pick some 16s. I don't think it'll happen this year. Out of the 15s, the 2 15s, Wofford, Robert Morris, Steve, if you want to do your dog.
Well, I think that's a good one because not only do you get a good payout, and we're going to get to them in a minute because I do have some other comparable stuff I want to show on them, but that would be that type of team to use, I think.
That would be the type of team. I used it on High Point. I talked about it. I watched them play. I think Purdue sucks. I'm going to take it on High Point. I'm going to take my chances. If they happen to be the team that it occurs with, am I going to get $1 million in free bets? Of course not. So, maybe I can get more than $111.
All right, I get that. I get the Texas A&M thing. I get it. Another team who plays good defense, Anthony. They could suffocate you and not let you score. But let me tell you the Yale scores most recently. They've scored 90. Yeah, Princeton and Yale, that's a rivalry. 59-57, I get it. Off-night shooting. But before that, 70, 69, 72, 90, 92, 84, 72, 103, 90, 77, 84, 83, 92, 78, 79, 93, 74, 74. So Yale, another team here in recent form that, again, shows that they can score some points. They're a 6.5-point dog. Over under is 39.5. So what do we need for Yale to get us home on something? Well, if they score something like 69 points, you're going to get plus 140, 72.5 plus 220. I don't know if this is the best play on the board, Yale. I think there's probably some other ones, considering Texas A&M, SEC team, and yeah, they are going to be a little defensive minded. But again, I mean, I think you can add them on. And honestly, Anthony, I wouldn't fault people if they wanted to do this sort of ticket where they take a bunch of these teams and lowball them to the favorite number, like Yale over 63.5 at minus 196. I think if you strap on that with like an SIU over 49.5 at even money, okay, and some other ones, you can come out with a $100 bet that still pays you like $1,000 or something like that if you can lowball 5 of these teams. So that's where I would go with Yale. And then the one right behind them, and I'll let you mention on both of these guys as well. The other team that's kind of comparable to them as well is Drake, who plays Missouri. And Missouri will have to play a little bit of a wide open type of game. And Drake is known to be somewhat of a slumping animal themselves. But Drake, if you look at their scoring as well, this is a team that's only lost 3 games in Drake. First place in their conference. Their recent scores go like this. And they were low scoring in that tournament. 63, 57, 70. But they've scored 68, 65, 64, 74. And I'm not making a convincing argument that they can score 1 million points. But they've scored 84, 85 at a time. Wow, Murray State 55, 50, 45 against them. 75. They're kind of like a Virginia in a way with their points. What do we need to get out of Drake to satisfy us for a good payout? I don't know if I can necessarily get there with them. But, you know, over 65.5 points is plus 134 still. So if they can get to 66, that's still not asking terribly a lot against the Missouri team for Drake to get. So I think a number like 66 is achievable for Drake. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I mean, this is actually the most enticing 6-11. This is actually one of the most enticing first-round games that I'm looking at when I'm filling out my brackets. And if I'm looking at, you know, teams that get to the Sweet 16 right now, I'm looking at Drake at plus 6.5 over under 132. They do take the air out of the ball, and they do play some slow tempo. And you have a Missouri team that's looking out to run and check. So it's going to be tricky because I mean, let me ask you this. Who do you think wins this game?
I think Drake can win this game.
Well, and this is another one of those popular 11 over 6 seeds because I wish I did more research. This is March Madness, and I just look at brackets for hours upon end and don't do any research. But who is the guy from Drake? Who's Drake's head coach?
Oh yeah, I forget his name, but I got you.
Well, anyway, he came from somewhere, and he recruited, you know, half of his team, kind of like the guy from James Madison did to Indiana in football, and then Indiana went to the college playoff, I think, or something like that, or they did pretty good. But very similar with Drake, and that's why they're a trendy pick. I'm very confused on why the odds are them getting 6.5 against Missouri. Now, Missouri's a run and gun team, so there could be some fireworks despite a 132.5 over under. But I mean, all it takes is Drake and Missouri for it to just be a shootout. I mean, can you not see this game being, I don't know, 36-34 at half?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're on pace for 140. I know it's only 8 more than the number, but if that's going to be the pace that it's set at, then the hell with it. Go through it. Yeah, when I'm filling out these darn brackets, I mean the winner of Missouri Drake placed the winner of Texas Tech and that UNC Wilmington, and I know Texas Tech's one of the overwhelming favorites to even make the national championship as a 3 seed, but I'm more interested in watching this game, and I'm glad that it's at 7:30 on Thursday. I could see Drake. What?
Yeah. I could see Drake winning that game too. They've lost 3 games, Anthony. I mean, how give a team credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I mean, I might hit the alternate over on this one. Maybe bump it to 142 if it's even possible. I know they only do alternate spreads once it's 6. Let me punch it in. What do we have over under? I mean, look, the alternate point total 6 is 140.5. You can see this game being 71-70. Hopefully not, because that means we'll be sweating at the skin of our teeth. But
if you take the team alternate total points over, you're getting paid.
Yeah. So then you have to look at each individual team. What if Drake does pull the upset and they end up scoring? Where are they at? Drake alternate total points. Actually, just their total points is 62.5. So if you just want at least a little bit of a number on it, 65.5 is plus 134. 68.5 is plus 215. And if you're really feeling frisky, plus 71.5 plus 340.
I think you get the contrarian feeling on Drake too as well, because I think people think they're an under team because of the way that tournament played out in the Missouri Valley. All those games are so low scoring. So that's going to be the first thought is Drake's a low scoring game. They'll muck it up against Missouri. That's probably an under type of game. I think you get your overs in these type of matchups right here. The next one that's concerning to me, and I'm not going to mess with it, is Utah State and UCLA. Utah State's kind of all over the board with their numbers. I don't have a good peg on them. I really don't have a good peg on UCLA. So I'll kind of pass on that. You can mention something about that in a minute if you want. But let's get to the 15 and the 2 with Omaha and St. John's. We know St. John's is a beast of defense, correct? Listen to this on Omaha. Recent games, they've scored 85. They scored 100. 70, 80, 93, 78, 84 in a loss, 85 in a loss, 85, 80, 78, 87 in a loss, 84, 89, 80, 87, 77, 85, 95, 81, 86. And you have to go all the way back to Iowa State, who is a good tournament team, probably comparable here, and they scored 51. All right, so maybe that's the letdown here against a team like St. John's. I'll tell you what, St. John's better be ready for this game because this Omaha team can't score. And if you look at what number you can get to get satisfied here, the total is 147.5. So they're kind of trying to tell you that even though St. John's is a defensive-minded team, that this is going to be a higher scoring game. And St. John's isn't necessarily known for their shooting either. They're known for their defense more than their offense. And the 147
Omaha?
What's that?
Who, Omaha?
St. John's, known for their defense, not quite as good three-point shooting. You might have numbers that are contrary to that, but I'm pretty sure they're one of the better defensive teams in the nation. And three-point-wise, at least, they're not the greatest. But 147.5 is the total. This tells me this is going to be a higher scoring game, too. And if we need Omaha to do their part here, well, if they get to 68 points, they're plus 148. Again, I think that's another number that you can add on, or even if you want to dumb these down to like over 61 minus 192, find 4 other partners for that to try to win, 100 and the $800 or whatever you want to do. Again, They've scored 1 million points every game they've played, Nebraska, Omaha. Why not again? Can you just get me the 70 against St. John's? And if you do, you're getting a nice plus money. So your thoughts on maybe Utah State, if you have any, UCLA, and then Omaha, St. John.
The only thing I have with Utah State is, where the hell is it? It's only one really stupid stat. They allow teams to shoot over 56 from the arc. So maybe you're looking at a UCLA big over. Over under is 142. So this, and especially with UCLA being favored, I could see UCLA blasting the 3 from this. And I can also see this. I could see this game going over as well. They're both shooting teams. The only thing I see with Omaha is wherever the hell it is. St. John's is one of the best defensive teams in the entire country. We all know that. That I'm reading. Omaha's defense struggled all year long, ranking 252nd in defensive efficiency, which means St. John's better put the pedal to the metal. But guess what? Omaha's actually a decent rebounding team as well. And I do expect Omaha to give St. John's a fit to start the game. The only thing that worries me is that St. John's tries to slow it down. But we also watched that St. John's Creighton game. And although it was it 82-66, I believe, Creighton's one dude got hurt and it pretty much took the air out of the ball with that team. Other than that, we saw what St. John's can do. Fast break, high-flying dunks. And if St. John's can hit their threes, which they're very not good at, by the way, they're one of the worst shooting teams in the entire country. You have two teams that can shoot. I can see it.
So we're on the same page for the most part here. It sounded like. Now, let's look at a team like UC San Diego. Again, a team that scored 3 times. They've scored over 100 points. They've scored over 90. Let's see here. Once, twice, 3, 4. 4 times in the 90s, 3 times in the hundreds, a bunch of times in the 80s, at least in the mid-70s for the most part. So you see San Diego against a team like Michigan, again, a chance for points here. And if we look at the odds, on this one, as we have an updated score, St. Francis 57, Alabama State 54 in that game. And then if we go down to the end of Thursday, and UNCW will be the last one we'll talk about here. But San Diego.
UC San Diego, they're on, I think they're tied for the longest winning streak. I think this is their first year of eligibility, or I think this is the first year this college even exists. I don't know the exact number, but
74.5 gets you a nice plus number on them. So you need to get to the 70s for them, but they prove they can score as well.
My only worry is that they play Michigan, but you know what? Michigan's not playing another Big Ten team like Wisconsin. It's not going to be like that. We see what Michigan's capable of. I actually feel bad for Michigan. 5-seed Michigan wins the Big Ten, faces UC San Diego.
Well, the other thing is it's a Thursday game, and they played late for Sunday, and this game's also in Denver, I believe. So they're playing up in altitude.
Yeah, I feel bad for Michigan because in one of my brackets, I'm going to actually have Michigan in the Elite Eight, and I don't feel good about it. I'm going to still do it because you never know, but I don't feel good about it because, Michigan's only 2.5-point favorite.
If you're watching this program and if it looks like I'm crying right now, it's that would be Virginia allergies, just so you know. Because my eyes are on fire, Anthony, this afternoon. And then let's look at UNC Wilmington, because I think we have the same type of argument here for them. Let's see. Let me click down to their scores. And they definitely have one or two lower scoring games, maybe a couple duds out there. But are you really sold in Tech? Like, what exactly has Texas Tech done to super impress you on the season? Maybe we'll look at that schedule first. So Texas Tech, when we look at them, let's look at their losses. 86-80 to Arizona. They're
Was that in the tournament?
Yeah, they're scoring 70s, 80s. They lost to Houston by 8. Understandable. Lost to TCU. That's a bad loss. Scoring 70, 90. Okay, they're scoring their points. I get it. And most of their opponents actually are held pretty low until recently. So their actual defensive form is not exactly the best. They've given up a little bit more points lately. So maybe that gives life here to UNCW. Let's look at UCNW's point scoring capability here. This is another team that's 27-7, so they haven't lost much. Second in their conference. They've scored 76, 68, 79, 88, 79, 79, all in their last 6 games. So they're able to score here as of late. 70, the couple games before that, they were slumping. But before that, 86, 81, 77, 80, 83, 83, 85, 85, 80. Again, another team that's shown as these lesser teams, they're not necessarily a grinded out type of team. They're one that's going to be able to run with you. And if Iowa State lets down their guard a little bit here, then I think UNCW is another team who might be able to pull an upset and might be able to at least keep pace with Texas Tech as well. Now, the over-under is 143.5, and the spread's 15.5. So you're going to get a nice team prop number on UNCW. It is actually off the board on the book that I'm looking at now. If Texas Tech is 79 and they are let's see here. I can do the math. If they are 79 for their point total and they're a 15.5 point favorite, know that the UNC Wilmington baseline is going to be around 64, and you're going to get a nice plus number around 70. So again, Anthony, I think this is another team you can just throw on the list. I don't know if we can throw anyone off this list, to be honest, when you're talking about teams like UNC Wilmington, Wofford, McNeese, SIU, Edwardsville, just to be able to get their point totals alone, or even close to it, if you want to take a negative number on them. So UNCW to you, what you got?
It's all very doable. The biggest thing with Texas Tech is they're missing 2 of their critical starters.
Yeah, and that helps UNC Wilmington again. Yes, another reason why you would want
McMillan and Darian Williams. Now, what I have looked so far with these 2 Texas Tech starters is that they are probable for this Thursday night game. It is not 100% that they're going to play, so I guess maybe the biggest trinket is to list them as questionable. But if these both, and that's why this line has shifted, because Vegas is pretty much banking on these 2 guys to be playing, which is going to, in doubt, make this game over with. Because I've only watched Texas Tech play once, and it was a couple weeks ago when they played Kansas, and it was an up, down, up, down, up, down. I think it was in Kansas, that's when we went on a little bike ride. And Texas Tech's tough. They really are. I did watch them play that game, only that game, but seen Texas Tech make it to the championship before. To see them do a run, I think I know when I make my Elite 8 bets, Texas Tech will be involved, because if these injuries, both of these studs, are just minor, then they'll be ready to rock and roll Thursday night. And if we see this high octane offense in Texas Tech, Wilmington's going to fire right back. So might as well take a screenshot of all these alternate overs or team points for all these teams, you might as well put it on the docket.
I have it on the
I'll
screen
fire
right
away
now.
with you.
I have it on the screen right now on the show.
Just take a screenshot and just send it to me so I have it.
We'll do. Okay. And the good idea here is on a Thursday is to take some of these teams, like take the first 3 or 4, make a bet with them together. Then take the next night shifts of 3 teams, add them onto the first 4 teams for a separate bet. That way you can win one early and then still be alive for the evening action. Or if you lose in the early session, you just kind of start from scratch and move down the chain. So that's a good way to approach it. And when you get to the bigger, like longer 7 tickets, like when you have these 7 plays like I have up on the screen now, do duplicate tickets. That way you can cash one out and keep one going as well. And you don't have to have that worrisome, gut-wrenching feeling in your stomach. Do I cash out or do I not cash out? Oh, I have 2 tickets. I purposely did that so I can cash out, get a nice profit, and keep the one going. All right, so good way to do it. Take the first 4, then add to it through the rest of the next day too, Friday. Have one big giant one, but kind of separate them in segments amongst themselves and sessions. And once you lose, kind of start back from scratch, if all that makes sense. Now, this one reeks to me big time, Anthony. You tell me where I'm wrong here. Alabama and Robert Morris. This is what we've been waiting for. Minus 22.5 and 165.5. And if you haven't seen Robert Morris, know that they are a well-rounded team. They have good athletes. They can probably run with Alabama a little bit. And if this game turns into a track meet, I think that's what Robert Morris actually kind of wants, to be honest. So, knowing that they're 22.5 and 165.5, let's look at the team props for, Robert Morris. Now, their baseline is just 71. That seems kind of high considering they're a 22.5-point underdog. So right then and there, they're telling me that they're probably going to score a lot of points anyway. All right? So when we look at Robert Morris on their alternate numbers, when we get to 77.5 points, we're a plus 230. When we get to 80.5 points, we're at plus 350. Now, at the end of the day, if Robert Morris wins this game and they score 81 points at plus 350, or if they score 81 points and they're at plus 350, I would tell you if they score 81 points that they actually have a legit chance of being the winner of this game if they score 81 points. Because that's what the over-under says. It's 165.5. So something's off here, Anthony. I'm not quite sure what it is, but the best number to me is not taking Robert Morris on an alternate over 80.5 points, 81.5, or over 77.5 at plus 230. I'd rather take Robert Morris on the straight money line at 20-1. And then if I'm going to look to get a smaller dealio, I'm going to actually take a look at an alternate spread. And at plus 16.5 points, I can get plus 190. I'd rather take plus 16.5 at plus 190 than take over 77.5 at plus 185 or whatever the heck it is. So,
yeah, what if this turns out to be one of those under games and Alabama's not 100% Robert Morris? I actually really think this is going to be one of the higher scoring games personally, but who knows? I could be dead damn wrong. So I'd much rather take them at a better plus number. And of course,
then take them for the points. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's what makes the most sense, right? Take Robert Morris on a big point spread at a plus number. And dabble on the money line and have some fun with it.
And I mean, you don't even have to take the money line. What if Robert Morris just keeps it a close game, and you take them? I don't know. What are they at plus? Where are they at?
Well, at plus 13.5, they are at plus 280.
fun.
Robert Morris to win by 11 is 100 to 1.
Jesus.
And the win, honestly, so that's how you do it. Instead of the 20 to 1 on the money line, you bet Robert Morris to win by 1 to 10 at 29 to 1. Then Robert Morris to win by 11 to more at 100 to 1. Because now what you've done is you've taken, this is the old Washington Nationals baseball trick when they played the Astros in the World Series. Now what you're doing is, at worst, you're getting plus 2,800 on the money line. You could lose the 11 or more at 100 to 1, but if it hits 1 to 10, you'll now get plus 2,800 on your payback. And God forbid they win by 11, then, you know, what's better than that? If they win by 11, 100 to 1 or straight up at 20 to 1. So you can take them straight up at 20 to 1, or you split it with the action and take them at 1 to 10 at 29 to 1, and then the win by 11 at 100 to 1, making your money line payout now at worst 28 to 1. How about that for a little trick?
Where the heck is Robert Morris on this bet? Where is?
Look at margin next to team props.
No, I'm just trying to find them.
Oh.
They play on Thursday, right?
No, first game Friday.
That's why. That explains it.
First game Friday. And I think the better pickings are on Thursday for some of these quote-unquote lesser teams. Because I think the competition gets a little tougher. A team like Lipscomb is another one that pays a lot of money for not having to do too much. And that's another team that scored regularly in the 80s, high 70s. All right, probably a 90 or two somewhere in there. But yeah, Robert Morris, Anthony, take a nice alternate number for your baseline, but don't be afraid to dabble in that big money line at the end of the day.
You think UNC Wilmington has a chance to beat Texas Tech?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing a little bit of stupidity going on right now. Right now, I'm just scrolling right now, clicking. They got High Point. Do you think Creighton or Louisville?
That smells like an under. Of all
I'm
games,
just looking at money line.
Of all
I'm
games,
looking at money line.
I'd pass on that.
I meant like money lines. Like, who do you think will win the game?
It's tough. I'll go Louisville for Creighton's built for the tournament because they have a big man. That's the thing.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we watched them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a.
But I don't trust.
I don't want to go too crazy with High Point, but as of now, I just did a little money line. Creighton right now, High Point. I'm going to take Gonzaga as well. I think Gonzaga is a team that could. I truly believe Gonzaga is a team that can knock out Houston if they win.
Tough second round.
And then Kansas.
You know the average age of Auburn. We'll get to Auburn in a minute, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Then Drake. And then UNC Wilmington to upset Texas Tech. The hell with it. I'm going to hold off. 6-team money line parlay, 10 wins, 5,400. I'm just going to put 5 on it.
All right, there you go. That's everyone. That's all those teams that win straight up.
Yep.
UNC Wilmington plus 920 on the straight up money line for them. Now let's just see what the win margin. Just for example, if you're looking to do straight bets, well, you'll get a little bit better number this way. But UNC Wilmington, the win by 1 to 10 is 11 to 1, and then the win by 11 or more is at 60 to 1. So worst case, you can get 10 to 1, a little bit better than that. Plus 9 it was in plus 980. I said plus 920. Plus 9.
Honestly, that, and that's my fault. Thanks for catching on that. That was a bad bet because if UNC Wilmington's going to win, I will feel I'm not going to feel as confident. If I'm going to bet UNC Wilmington to beat Texas Tech, I don't think they're going to win by 11 or more. It'll be between 1 and 5, honestly, because it'll be a close game, and then maybe a buzzer beater. So that's actually a smart angle as well. I just didn't look at it.
Well, I will say this too, though. Even if it's for 10 cents, somewhere out there, you're going to want to have some sort of a round robin with UNC to win by 11, Omaha to win by 11. All right, Drake to win by 11, Yale to win by 11, McNeese to win by 11. All right, because these ridiculous money lines, when you're doing something like 10 cents, if you can just hit 2 of them, you're still going to get a couple $100 or something like that. Great, or $100 or something. But God forbid you hit 3 or 4 by accident, and the next thing you know, you're getting straight paid. Talked about Lipscomb a little bit. Colorado State and Memphis, that's another hard game. We've talked about that some. Vanderbilt and St. Mary's, that could be a wide open type of game. That 136 seems low to me. St. Mary's has proven they can score. Vanderbilt's kind of an up and down team themselves. They've proven they can score. But this is where it gets a little interesting, and this is what Anthony said, buyer beware of Maryland. You have Grand Canyon, who almost beat Alabama last year. And this is a good team, Grand Canyon. And they're getting 10.5 points, plus 430 on the money line. That is another team you could take to win by 11 on some backwards, upside down ticket and probably maybe have a chance here. I like Grand Canyon in this game, Anthony. To win by 1 to 10, they're plus 550. To win by 11, 21 to 1 odds. But I'll give Grand Canyon even a shot to take down Maryland. Your thoughts on that?
They could do it, but you unfortunately have the 2 twin towers, Derek Queen, Julian Reese, and that's shake and bake left and right down there. Now, the only way Grand Canyon's going to beat them is to just shoot the living piss out of the 3, because they're not going to beat them inside. I think they have one big guy, but when you have both of these,
they have a bunch of athletic 6'6", 6'7" guys at guard and down low. So they're kind of well-rounded, power, like almost like small forward, power forward type of players.
They are, but the 2 guys that pretty much hang out down there for Maryland, they're gonna beat them. It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, Grand Canyon's gonna get their moments, but they literally call them the Twin Towers for a reason.
All right, so beware on Grand Canyon for Anthony.
This is also Maryland. This has been I've been watching them ever since the Gary Williams days in 2002. I have enough Maryland memorabilia, and I also got absolutely trashed with their athletic director about 8 years ago. God, was that fun! He even let me hold their little trophy when they won the damn thing in 2002. So I'll be rooting for Maryland left and right. I gotta also find my Maryland hoodie that Megan stole from me, and she thinks it's hers, and I gotta take that back. Other than that, I'll be rooting for Maryland. I also just know that they haven't been good recently, and Grand Canyon, I believe, pulled the upset last year at the 5-12 against the Gales of St. Mary's. So, and even though I was passed out by then Saturday night watching them at 11:30 at night, they pulled it off. Grand Canyon is your typical 13-4 upset. I'm going to go with Maryland, though.
Grand Canyon has scored in their recent games 89, 75, 98, 81 in a loss, 90, 63, 85, 66, 82, 64. They have, before that, a couple games over 100. So that's just another team that has proven that they can score. Other teams, like Norfolk State, I'm not going to take against Florida. Florida just has shown that they're a beast. Troy is kind of in the same boat. They have too many Anthony's talked about it. The way that you win these tournament games is you have the big 7-footers who can dominate. That helps you big time come March Madness. Florida has that. Kentucky has that. Marquette and New Mexico is a hard game. Both of those teams are athletic. I could see that being an over. Akron's interesting to me. That's another team that we can group with some of these other ones who they routinely score high 70s, mid 80s. The MAC was a higher scoring conference this season, just overall amongst its competition. That's all Akron knows is run and gun type of basketball. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes with Arizona. I could see U Conn and Oklahoma being a little bit of a clunker. And Bryant is the last team I'll kind of look at here. And Michigan State, we know they've been able to lock down teams. But Bryant is another team. Scored 79, 91, 85, 90, 80, 79, 55 in a loss, 81, 88. This is a team consistently in the 80s and the 90s again. They scored over 100 a couple of times. They've scored, how about this? Grand Canyon beats Bryant 112-66. Anthony.
Stand by for a sec. Keep talking.
But they've scored plenty of points themselves. So I think there's better action to be had on the Friday shift and then some of these on the Thursday shift than some of these more competitive games on a Friday. But I think we do have some of these lower teams capable again of scoring some points. And I think we'll generally just see our unders in the Colorado State, Memphis type of games. Perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised if that's an under. Even New Mexico Marquette, 153.5. That sounds like you want to take the over, and then they score 148 points, 149 points, and let you down type of dealio. Again, Oklahoma, U Conn could be that same type of way. U Conn's been a dominant under team for the most part overall as well. So those are some things that just kind of stick out at the end of the day. And I'll flip some tickets around here. Here's one we haven't posted. All lines with the overs, team props with some of these lesser teams. And then, the one thing that we should talk about are the unders, right? And cases, I already made kind of a case for Creighton and Louisville. That sounds like an under. Even Yale and Texas A&M sounds like an under a little bit at the end of the day, even though Yale can score some. Baylor and Mississippi State reeks of an under to me. Maryland, Grand Canyon. I do have Maryland under 74.5. You get a good payout on that. But like Anthony said, they could muck it up. But even when they muck it up, that could be a lower scoring game and a muck-up win. A team like Troy, again, against 7-footers, may have a hard time trying to score. So I got Troy under 66.5 on a ticket when they play Kentucky. That ticket with those five, $18 pays $2,013. All right, so those are some good numbers at the end of the day that we can have some fun with. And then if you look past the Sweet 16, and I encourage you, find 5 teams or even 4 that you think can get to the Sweet 16 and take a couple long shots, like in North Carolina. Know that if you take Duke minus 750, there's no fun in that at the Sweet 16. You're not getting much money back on your return, so at least make it worth your while. Like Vanderbilt, that'd be a nice random one to get to the Sweet 16 if you like them. They're plus 760. All right, we already talked about, they have a team that they're playing that's winnable, right? So what do they have to do to get to the Sweet 16 here? Vanderbilt would have to beat St. Mary's and then Alabama or Robert Morris. So that's a harder track to reach for sure. Wisconsin is about even money. Clemson's about even money. You get a little bit more elaborate at the Elite 8. And don't try to maybe pick 4, but maybe try to pick 3 to get to the Elite 8. Now, North Carolina plus 1380. Bet that tonight if that's what you like. If you like a team like a St. Mary's, they are plus 690. Okay. Clemson plus 670 is a good number to get to the Elite 8. Someone like High Point if they can just go on a run. What would a High Point have to do to get on the run here, Anthony? Let's take a look at them, since they're kind of one of your favorites. Just to set the example.
High Point has a clear path to the Sweet 16. All they do is take care of business against Purdue.
How about the Elite? How about the so Purdue? Then who else?
Beat the winner of Clemson McNeese. So then they'll be in the Sweet 16, and then all they have to do is beat the winner of either Houston or Gonzaga or Georgia.
Tougher.
I mean, High Point in their first NCAA berth. You guys want to do a long shot of an Elite Eight Cinderella? High Point restart.
90-1 to get to the Elite Eight. So even if he did,
I wouldn't even round robin that. I would just take that straight up and just, if you want to have some fun and then throw another team in for, an obscurity of riches, be my guest. But I would just do that one straight up.
High Point. 90-1, take it straight up. And then let's say you add Kentucky, because they can go on a run at plus 330, and then North Carolina at plus 1380. Now you can take your $3.50 to win $1,592. How about that? Which I just did. So there are good numbers to parlay the Elite Eight. What do you think a good solid number is, Anthony? 2 or 3? I even think if you like one long shot and a short shot, you can get a good payout if you just get 2 of the Elite Eight pinned down.
The only thing that sucks about doing the long shot and the 2 easies, or the one long shot, the kind of long shot, but it's still a good odd, and then the easy one, damn straight what happens every year. The long shot hits, the second hardest hits, and the easy one loses. That happens every year.
Yeah. So in that case, take the 2 hardest ones together and by themselves. That way, everything else just ends up being a bonus at that point.
All right. So I'm going to throw this one at you.
All right.
Are we still like going through the games, or can we just
that's pretty much a wrap up of everything of what you could do. I think we're pretty much done with that.
So I'm just having fun, because I'd much rather do this, do a good chunk tonight. Do another chunk tomorrow, and then of course, fingers crossed, I'm off on Thursday, and then me and you are going to be making Irish car bombs all damn day on Thursday. What I'm hoping for, before the Irish car bombs, before we start accidentally betting all the 16 teams to win the whole thing, I'm looking at this, and we're all talking about North Carolina winning this damn thing because that's they're plus 630, and guess what? What if San Diego State wins?
I'm sorry, who wins?
Have you looked at what?
San Diego State?
Look at their odds to get to the Sweet 16. You haven't looked at that before, have you?
I have not, and they're capable.
Go ahead and look it up.
They're capable. Yep. San Diego State, 20-1. Yep. There you go.
20-1 compared to 630. I mean, if North Carolina, let's take NC's team and put it on San Diego State and then flip it. They're both even 10-1. It's all name value, blue blood.
Right.
So what I've been scrolling through, and I actually ended up doing this, I will hit the fire button. So I took San Diego State to reach the Sweet 16. I watched Texas play in that tournament, and I feel like they have just enough to possibly do it. I know they got their asses kicked by Tennessee, but they're a good-looking team. They look athletic. They can shoot the 3. They can rebound. They just played a Tennessee team that was in sync. So I'm going to pick San Diego State to get to the Sweet 16, Texas to get to the Sweet 16, and since the odds are still good, I'm going to go with Drake. And if you put $10 on that, you win $4,400.
I'm going to start a ticket. I like it. A screenshot it and send it. For Akron to get to the Sweet 16, Akron is 23-1. They have to go through Arizona, Liberty, and Oregon. And again, they can score 1 million points. So that's one. That's one I'll throw in there.
Akron's close to my hometown.
If we want to take someone like, Montana.
Honestly, Steve, fuck it. Akron, let's do the fuck up parlay right now.
I mean, so Montana's 130 to 1.
I don't care.
They could.
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin, BYU, and VCU is who they would have to beat.
If Wisconsin beats Wisconsin, or if Montana beats Wisconsin, which I highly doubt, okay, just a disclaimer, and it's going to kill me because they're one of my survivor teams. Because I will be taking Wisconsin as one of my 2 survivor teams in the first weekend. But if Montana is the team that no one knows about, that no one cares about, and they all saw what Wisconsin did in the Big Ten tournament. I'm sure more than half the people picked Wisconsin to beat Michigan anyway. All it takes is one Cinderella game. Remember, one game. So, as part of the fuck-ups, Akron, Montana is the other one.
Well, I was going to throw on Robert Morris, but apparently we would win too much money. So we can't throw them on.
What about Troy?
Not interested because I like Kentucky so much. I wouldn't be interested in that. But I could give you a Drake or a UNC Wilmington, without a doubt.
Let's see UNC Wilmington. I'll do the Troy in another fuck up bracket.
UNC Wilmington. And
where are they?
These guys, let's see here. They're in the West. So
Ooh.
UNC Wilmington.
Wait. I don't see them.
I wonder if they think of that because we're next to North Carolina. Yeah, I don't see it either. So let's take Drake.
Sucks.
Let's take Drake 10 to 1.
I can't take Drake. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to take Troy and then just root against you and go, and then laugh at you if during the Burger King commercials.
All right.
Only because I already have another bet with Drake.
Okay, all right. As an example, Drake here. Can I find another better example? Let's see. That we can both jump on.
Steve, you can't even wait. I don't think you can do Troy.
I wonder why they're knocking these guys out of our region.
Akron and Montana. Oh, wait. Why can't I? Wait. Why
we could just do these two by themselves. Akron and Montana.
How the hell was it? Fuck it. Let's just do Akron and Montana. For some reason, when I click another team, it says you can't do it. So,
$5 pays 2,210.
I'm putting 10 on it.
So there it goes. All right, so that's some of the fun stuff you can do overall. All right, Anthony, anything else to wrap up this edition of our Bet to the Future March Madness special edition? I think that's 2 hours worth of good content there.
Yeah, it's entertaining content. I don't know if it's good content, but at least it's entertaining content.
We basically told you to take all the stinkies on their over points.
And the under games. Hey, you know what? As part of my, I'm going to take Troy to make the Sweet 16. You know what? I might as well add to it. Lipscomb.
That you know what? Who does Lipscomb have to get to there?
Honestly, their path is very doable. So if Lipscomb can beat an injury-prone Iowa State team,
that's a doable path. So you have Lipscomb and Troy.
So if Troy can somehow upset Kentucky, right?
Yep.
And then Troy can beat the winner of Texas, Xavier, Illinois, whoever it is. Then if you go on the top left of your bracket, you look at Lipscomb. Remember, Iowa State's probably going to win because they're a really good team, even though they're missing their one main dude. But like I said, madness, 14-3 upset, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? If Ole Miss is going to play the winner of San Diego State, North Carolina. Whoever wins that game, all you have to do is beat them. Troy, Lipscomb, $10, 3,200. There you go.
I've got it locked in. Got it locked in.
Wow.
Well, that's a lot of fun we can have, Anthony. And the good thing is it's only Tuesday, and we can add to it as we go along. We'll have to add to it even more if North Carolina doesn't succeed tonight, as we have them tied into some of the futures, many of my futures already. But this is an interesting one, Anthony. Let me just read this one more time. It's SIU to get 55 points, McNeese to get 70, Wofford to get 66, Drake to get 66, Robert Morris plus 16.5, and Lipscomb to get over 66.5. $10 wins 9,326. Just on those six things.
Just screenshot it and send it home.
I'll screenshot and send it home.
I'll be on because we will be actively going through all of this. Steve, I might as well send them on the phone with you. Have you filled out any brackets yet?
I'm going to look at the CP's one tomorrow, and then I'll be on top of it.
Are you doing one or two?
I'll probably do one, but I'll send you the link.
Send me the link, because I'll probably do. Just like, do people normally do one or two?
I think they normally do one.
All right, then I'll just do one there. Send me the link so I can Venmo whomever I need to. I mean, let me ask you this, since we're kind of done with our quote unquote analysis. I mean, who do you think's going to win this? Let me ask you this: who do you think, after everything you've watched for the past few months, who do you think will win? Who is the best team for this tournament?
Well, I heard that Auburn's average age is like 24 years old. Auburn is loaded. Their youngest guys are like 22. So that's the team who's cheating right off the bat to me. So I can't take them, but they are the oldest. I think it's Duke. And Duke's already beaten Auburn too, if I'm correct, earlier in the season. So with a healthy Cooper Flag, Duke looks like the best team to me. All those other teams in the SEC are right there with them. On any given day, Alabama can win, I think. On any given day, it's that Tennessee can win their game. Florida can definitely be a nuisance. A Florida-Duke final would be fantastic, to be honest. I think the cream does make it out to the top at the end of this thing. We will see someone who people recognize.
Oh, 100%. And I'm glad you answered the way you answered. I think Auburn is still the best team in college. And I know they lost 3 of their last 4, but they also look at who the hell they played. I mean, and they're getting tired. They're waiting for the tournament. You even heard Bruce Pearl say his spiel and his interview of like, you guys see who we played the last 4 games? I actually still think Auburn's the best team. I also think Duke's almost the best team. Once they get the best player in the land, because that's the other thing. The 2 best players are from Auburn and Duke. I don't know what's the guy's name from Auburn? Broom?
Yes.
I'll go with Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn and Duke in one of my brackets. So that'll be this is what I think will happen. Probably my more conservative bracket. I'll be honest. I know Florida's a hot commodity, and a lot of people are going to be taking Florida to win this whole damn thing. And now they're comparing them to U Conn. I think Florida slips up at some point. They're gonna steamroll through the first round. But if they win, would they be playing the winner of U Conn and Oklahoma?
Yes. Yeah. A team like UConn could actually knock them out at the end of the day. UConn is a fascinating one for their Sweet 16, to be honest.
They would be the first team in history to three-peat. Because Florida's done that. UConn did it, obviously, the last 2 years. I don't know. I think they'll be the first team to three-peat since who's the coach for UCLA back in the 80s? What was his name? Wooden.
John Wooden. Yeah, John Wooden.
Wooden, yeah. Okay, I was going to say they named a fucking award after him. Maybe the first team. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know. I know Dan Hurley's team is kind of like bailing on him because of the NIL, and he's going to lose half his roster, and it's going to be a complete rebuild for U Conn. But I'm telling you, if U Conn wins against Oklahoma and they're faced against Florida, watch Dan Hurley pull something out of his ass. I will not be surprised if Florida gets upset in the second round. I'm not saying it will happen. I just won't be surprised if it does.
Plus 640 for U Conn to make the Sweet 16.
I'm just throwing that out right now.
They didn't do Florida any favors in the second round. That's for sure.
No, they didn't, and they might be the hottest team, and they are. They're fantastic. I mean, if the national championship, if they played Duke or Houston or Auburn right now, no, Tennessee beat Auburn, but no, Florida right at this exact second, or at least last weekend, if Florida beat or played any of these three teams, they'd win. But now they have to let it sit, soak it in. I don't think Florida. They could, they should. They're one of the most popular picks, but I see Florida screwing this up.
So at the end of the weekend, Anthony, it'll be interesting. Well, there will probably be 2 or 3 candidates that no one's thinking about for sure that are sitting at home, and probably were sitting at home all weekend because they got bounced in round 1.
What is tops? We've already talked about North Carolina. We brought up Texas, San Diego State. Yeah. Double-digit seeds, long shots, 8 seeds, 9 seeds, because there's a lot of good 8 and 9 seeds, and 7 and 10s. I mean, hell, Arkansas and Kansas play each other. Bill Self and Calipari, and then the winner gets Patino. I mean, you have a lot of good coaches / teams that didn't, that underwhelmed this year. What's one of your top long shots? Which team can we be seeing in the Elite 8 Final Four in a couple weeks?
I think you start with North Carolina because that's the obvious long shot to everyone involved. But if I figured Kentucky was going to be the big enough long shot, but they seeded them higher than I thought, to be honest. If a team like Clemson skates through, I don't know if they're necessarily a long shot either. But if you're asking me, like a VCU type of team, then I'm going to go with that's tough. But I think the most winnable bracket is even though Duke's in it, I think it's an easy bracket because it's Duke and Alabama. So someone like Robert Morris, I think is definitely alive. Someone even like Montana can try to make some sort of a Final 8 push. If I go to the other bracket, on the lower half of Florida, I think that's one that's ripe for the picking as well. If St. John can just get knocked off. And at that point, it could be a Wilmington. It could be even an Omaha. It could be a Drake. Sorry to be so vague, but I think you just look for the least resistance, a word that you've used plenty of times. This Midwest, good luck trying to get someone like Troy through because it is landmine after landmine after landmine after landmine. And that's for any team, like a Clemson, a Gonzaga, a Houston, Illinois, a Kentucky.
I'm looking at some of these 8 seeds and 9 seeds. I mean, U Conn against Florida. If U Conn and Gonzaga both win their games, U Conn and Gonzaga to the Sweet 16. I wonder what that pays. I logged out, but a U Conn Gonzaga as 8 seeds. Like I said, we saw what Kentucky's done. That's interesting.
Let's take it a little bit further. So let's go U Conn Elite 8. Because if they can get to the Sweet 16, they can get to the Elite 8.
Agreed.
at a plus 1180. And I think you got to throw Gonzaga in that same boat, right? Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga's only plus 470 to get to the Elite Eight. How about that?
I'm telling you, I've been watching this, and I've been unfortunately losing on betting Houston for so damn long that let me look back. And Gonzaga and U Conn, what is that?
That is 55-1 for both of those teams to get to the Elite Eight. But I think at that point you add someone like a Duke.
Yeah, you add a Duke. You add a Tennessee. You add.
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee could do that. Add a St. John's. Add a Michigan State. Add. I don't know. If you're really feeling frisky.
I don't think you want to fill up too many eights because picking a whole Elite Eight is kind of rough. But even now, I get over 100-1 if I add just Tennessee to those three.
I'm not adding Louisville or Creighton. Auburn's going to win. I'm not adding Mississippi State or Baylor. Duke's going to win. I'm not in every bracket that I make, and I watch this blow up in my face. I will take Auburn and Duke in the Sweet 16 in every single bracket that I make, no matter what.
Elite Eight: Michigan State, Tennessee, Gonzaga, Connecticut. $5 wins you 1,091. I'll take a picture.
There you go.
All right. I think that'll do it, Anthony. Let's wrap it up.
That'll do. All right, sir. Well, let's go watch some North Carolina. I believe it just started. Let's tune on some True TV and get their ratings back up for everything they've lost in the past 360 days.
And if you've missed some of this program, just go back and listen to it from the beginning. That is all newsworthy until tip-off Thursday morning. And I think we came up with some pretty good angles overall at the end of the day. I'll say this too. When I said the cream will probably rise to the top a little bit when we get to the end, where we will probably see some higher scoring games with the lesser teams that can score against some of these more average, supposedly better teams. I think the further we go, I would start to look under rather than over. And that's just my experience of many, many years saying that. All right, Anthony, I appreciate you. Good luck, sir.
Appreciate it, sir.
All right. Oh, sorry, Anthony, we'll drop you. So we'll wrap it up. This is Bet to the Future. I am Stephen Murray. This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network YouTube channel, Deep End, like a pool, 757 Broadcasting. Our Twitter is at DeepEnd757. Our website, deependbroadcasting.com. And you can find us on the YouTube again at Deep End Broadcasting. So that is our March Madness Bet to the Future special. Enjoy the Carolina game. And when you put your tickets in, people, don't be afraid to start over. And don't lose your train of thought. Stay sober, don't make drunk bets, and have some fun with it. Hopefully you can cash $15 into $4,500, 10 into $1,000, 25 into 10,000, whatever the case may be. Pick your champion, and you know what? Start looking for some stuff in the NBA, golf, NHL, and parlay your champion to that and a round robin as well. All right, we'll get out of here. I'm Stephen Murray. Have a good night.